Have you ever noticed that as we age, our priorities shift? When we're young, we crave constant social interaction, thriving on the buzz of parties, countless texts, and a never-ending parade of social events. But once you reach your 70s, the game changes entirely. Imagine a life where, instead of feeling pressured to maintain a large circle of friends, you learn that having fewer, more meaningful connections can bring you greater joy and inner peace. Today, we're going to explore why ditching the crowd might be the best decision you ever make, and how intentionally streamlining your social circle leads to a more fulfilling life. In your youth, friendships are abundant, and relationships are built around shared adventures, the excitement of new experiences, and the desire for external approval. You often gather with friends, not just out of enjoyment, but to feel validated by being part of a group. But as the years pass, you realize that all those hectic social obligations can drain your energy. When you reach your golden years, what you truly need is space to reconnect with yourself. The time, once managed by endless gatherings, can now be devoted to the quiet pleasure of self-reflection, creative pursuits, or simply enjoying the serenity of a morning walk. Think about Harold. Harold spent most of his life climbing the corporate ladder, constantly surrounded by colleagues, acquaintances, and so-called friends whose company was tied to the demands of his busy work life. When he retired at the age of 70, his world suddenly opened up. The once important social network began to lose its luster, and he found himself confronting a strange mixture of nostalgia and liberation. At first, he felt the pang of loneliness, missing the buzz of constant interaction. But slowly, Harold began to discover the beauty of solitude. He embraced long walks in the park, evenings spent reading by the fire, and afternoons devoted to painting. With each quiet moment, he understood that genuine joy was not found in impressing others, but in connecting with his own inner self. Scientific studies nowadays even confirm that as we age, the need for external validation diminishes, while our craving for inner calm and authenticity increases. It turns out that as we age, the dopamine rush associated with being admired simply disappears. Instead, our energy is better spent on activities that foster inner growth and self-care. What matters now isn't the quantity of friends, but the quality of those relationships. Consider the power of a deep, uncomplicated conversation over a few cups of tea, rather than the superficial chatter at a large, bustling party. In fact, research published in the Journal of Gerontology has shown that older adults who focus on nurturing a small circle of genuine friendships experience less stress and greater overall life satisfaction. This isn't about cutting yourself off from the world or walling yourself in solitude. It's about making deliberate choices that honor your emotional well-being. Fewer friendships mean fewer chances for drama and disappointment. When you're part of a large group, even the smallest conflict or misunderstanding can multiply into a needless source of stress. With fewer relationships, there's less pressure to constantly meet unspoken obligations. You free yourself from the exhausting cycle of trying to keep up appearances and feeling guilty for walking away from interactions that no longer serve you. Margaret once juggled dozens of social gatherings a week, proud of her reputation for being the life of every party. Yet, in her mid-70s, she began to notice something startling. Her life was becoming an endless cycle of exhausting social obligations. Every meeting, every phone call, every text drained a little more of her energy. With time, Margaret learned the art of saying no. At first, it felt like a leap into the unknown, rejecting traditions and expectations that she'd held all her life. But as she began carving out more time for herself, something wonderful happened. She rediscovered old passions, quiet afternoons filled with painting, long walks in nature, and moments of introspection where she could simply be. Her calendar, once bursting with appointments, now left space for the beauty of stillness. In that stillness, she found not loneliness, but a profound sense of inner peace and joy. Social overload is not just a modern syndrome experienced by the younger generation. It is a challenge that many older adults face as well. The constant need to be on, the ceaseless stream of contacts, and the pressure to maintain a sprawling network can lead you to a point of burnout. The truth is, your energy is precious, and every interaction demands a bit of that priceless resource. When you begin to reserve your energy only for relationships that truly matter, you open up space for hobbies, creative pursuits, and that all-important self-care routine. By choosing quality over quantity, you refine your social environment into one where each connection adds real meaning to your life. Let's take a closer look at why this shift feels so natural. In your 20s and 30s, every friendship is an adventure, a chance to explore the diversity of life. But in your later years, these fast-paced interactions give way to a desire for stability and authenticity. The skills that once brought you joy now feel like relics of a busier, more superficial time. Your inner world becomes richer, and the once dazzling allure of a crowded social scene pales in comparison to the quiet satisfaction of a deep, soulful conversation with one or two people who truly understand you. With fewer friends, you no longer need to expend energy proving yourself or living up to ever-changing expectations. Instead, you rediscover the value of being exactly as you are, unique, wise, and wonderfully content in your own company. Then there is the undeniable simplicity that comes from a pared-down social circle. Imagine comparing your life to a beautiful, carefully tended garden. In a garden overloaded with every type of plant, it is difficult for any one species to flourish. In contrast, a garden with only a handful of carefully selected, well-tended blooms radiates beauty in a unique way. Your life, too, becomes a flourishing haven of only those relationships that nurture your soul. With less clutter comes more clarity about who you are, what you truly value, and which people contribute positively to your everyday happiness. Consider the story of William. Once known as the social butterfly, William was accustomed to large gatherings and endless interactions. Yet, as he approached his early 70s, he began noticing the irony of his situation. Surrounded by people, he increasingly felt alone. The constant noise of trivial conversations left him yearning for something more substantial, moments of silence in which he could appreciate his passions, like woodworking and gardening. With a brave heart, William decided to step back from the sea of acquaintances and instead focus on just a few truly meaningful connections. His decision was met with raised eyebrows among his peers. However, as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, William's inner peace and creativity blossomed. His world, once crowded and overwhelming, became a sanctuary of clarity, a place where every relationship was intentional and every moment was savored. And then there's Eleanor, who for years believed that the more people around her, the happier she would be. Constantly attending events, juggling numerous phone calls, and trying her best to be everywhere at once, she eventually discovered that the weight of these obligations was too heavy to bear. Slowly, she began to trim away the excess. By carefully choosing only those interactions that lifted her up and disregarding those that felt forced or repetitive, Eleanor experienced a transformation. Her energy grew, her passions flourished, and the simple act of sitting alone with her thoughts became a cherished time of self-discovery. In embracing a leaner social life, she learned that solitude was not synonymous with loneliness, but was instead a welcome companion on her journey of self-growth. Of course, you might be wondering, isn't having fewer friends a recipe for isolation? It's a common misconception that solitude equals loneliness. Yet the truth lies in the nature of the connections you choose. True loneliness is not about being alone. It is about feeling disconnected from what matters most. When you intentionally narrow your circle to include only those who offer genuine support and understanding, you create a network where every member truly enriches your life. The shift from quantity to quality isn't a withdrawal from the world, it's a conscious choice to invest your time and energy in what brings lasting fulfillment. With fewer social obligations, another profound benefit emerges: the remarkable clarity to understand and appreciate your own inner voice. Every time you decline an invitation that doesn't align with your true self, you protect your mental well-being. You free up space that might otherwise be filled with unnecessary drama, superficial chatter, or the anxiety of fitting into predefined social roles. This simplification of your social life allows you to dedicate time to hobbies, passions, and even new adventures that you might have long neglected. Imagine spending your energy painting, reading, gardening, or simply exploring nature without the constant interruption of a hectic social calendar. In those moments of creative solitude, you hear your own thoughts more clearly. You begin to understand that your happiness, your fulfillment, and your sense of self are defined not by the number of connections you have, but by the depth of those connections, and sometimes that depth is found most profoundly in yourself. The decision to trim down your social circle isn't instantaneous. It unfolds gradually as you begin to notice subtle shifts in your energy and mood. Perhaps you spend a few days tracking your interactions, observing which conversations leave you inspired and which ones leave you feeling drained. Over time, you start arranging your schedule around quality over quantity. You learn to decline invitations with a kind, no understanding that each refusal strengthens your commitment to your well-being. It's a learning process, a journey of self-compassion and self-respect. As you become more attuned to your true needs, you notice that fewer but better relationships allow you to invest in activities that offer genuine joy. There is also the practical side of having fewer friendships. Large social circles, although seemingly vibrant, often come with unspoken expectations and hidden conflicts. The more people you have in your network, the higher the likelihood of misunderstandings and the burden of feeling obligated to maintain every connection. On the other hand, a smaller group means fewer chances for disappointment. It's like clearing out a cluttered room. Once you remove what's unnecessary, you make room for what's truly important, and the overall sense of calm becomes palpable. Now imagine how liberating it feels to reclaim your time. Every moment that you do not spend on obligatory social engagements is a moment invested in your passions, your hobbies, or simply in enjoying a peaceful cup of tea while watching the sunrise. Instead of feeling forced to attend every event because of social pressure, you become the master of your schedule. In that freedom, you discover that your life becomes richer, not because you're surrounded by hundreds of acquaintances, but because every interaction is deliberate and filled with meaning. Picture yourself one quiet morning, waking up with a sense of anticipation for the day ahead, not because you have an endless list of activities, but because you have the freedom to choose what truly resonates with your heart. You might decide to embark on a leisurely stroll through your neighborhood, stop by your favorite cafe, or simply sit in your garden reveling in the beauty of nature. These moments of intentional solitude serve as reminders that happiness often lies in the simplicity of living on your own terms. And when you choose quality over quantity in your relationships, you unlock the space to cultivate a deeper understanding of who you are and what truly brings you joy. Every decision to say no to an out-of-sync social engagement is a decision to say yes to yourself. It is a delicate balance. By protecting your energy, you create the conditions for authentic self-expression and genuine connection. When you let go of the pressure to be constantly available for every acquaintance, you grant yourself the freedom to nurture the relationships that inspire and support you. Whether it's reconnecting with a longtime friend who always offers thoughtful conversation, or spending a quiet afternoon reading your favorite book, these choices allow you to focus on what truly matters. Throughout this transformation, it's important to remember that the decision to simplify your social circle is deeply personal. There is no one-size-fits-all approach. Some of us find joy and rejuvenation in solitude, while others cherish the occasional intimate gathering. What matters most is that your social environment reflects your current values and desires. In a world that highly values connectivity and popularity, choosing to refine your circle is a radical act of self-care. It's an invitation to live more intentionally, let go of guilt associated with saying no, and ultimately reveal the beauty of a life spent in genuine connection with what matters. Think back to the moments when you felt truly alive. Perhaps it was during a heartfelt conversation with someone who listened, or in the quiet hours of the morning, when the world was still and you were completely in tune with your thoughts. Those moments are the heartbeat of a fulfilled life. They remind you that true joy is not measured by the number of friends you have on your contact list, but by the depth of the relationship you nurture with both others and yourself. As you look ahead to the future, imagine how empowering it feels to live with clarity and purpose. Envision days where every social encounter is chosen deliberately, where each interaction enriches your life rather than drains it. In this vision, your golden years become a time of self-discovery, a time to cultivate passions, explore new interests, and deepen the bonds with those who truly matter. It's a future where the pressure of constant socializing is replaced by spontaneous, meaningful moments that invigorate your spirit. By choosing to ditch the crowd, you're not rejecting the world. Instead, you're making a statement about what you value most: authenticity, peace, and the freedom to be uniquely you. Every step you take on this journey opens the door to greater self-awareness and a more uncomplicated, yet profoundly rich, experience of life. This revolution of the golden years isn't marked by a lack of social life, but by the intentional sacrifice of overload in favor of genuine, purposeful interactions. So, as you reflect on your own life, ask yourself, which relationships truly add value to my journey? Am I holding on to habits that exhaust my energy rather than nurture my soul? With each honest answer, you'll find your path illuminated with the wisdom of making choices that align with your heart's true desires. It's not about rejecting society's expectations or succumbing to isolation. It's about consciously curating the connections that allow you to flourish. Take a moment now to consider the power of your own decision-making. Each time you opt for a quiet day spent in reflection over an obligatory social event, you are choosing to honor yourself. You're investing in your mental clarity, emotional satisfaction, and ultimately, in a life that resonates with the freedom to pursue what truly makes you happy. Isn't it time to let go of the superficial and embrace a life where every relationship is a true celebration of who you are? As you return to your daily routine, remember that every conversation, every shared laugh, and every moment of peaceful solitude contributes to a life defined not by the noise of a crowded room, but by the calm and clarity of genuine connection. Step by step, action by action, you are crafting a narrative of authenticity and joy, one that prioritizes the depth of each encounter over the breadth of empty obligations. In closing, I invite you to join this movement toward a more intentional life. Reflect on the transformative power of choosing fewer, more meaningful friendships. Share your own experiences and insights with others, and discover how your story of simplification and self-care might inspire someone else to take that brave step toward inner peace. Life after 70 is not a time for compromise. It's a time to reclaim your energy, celebrate your independence, and create an environment where your happiness blossoms naturally. Thank you for taking the time to explore this journey with us. If you've found parts of this message resonating with you, please consider subscribing, leaving a comment below with your own story, and sharing this video with friends and family who might also benefit from the wisdom of intentional living. Remember, true joy isn't about blending into the crowd. It's about forging your own path, embracing your unique rhythm, and finding that deep-rooted peace that comes from within. Ditch the crowd, find joy, and let your golden years shine with the brilliance of authenticity and self-love.